Welcome again to It Doesn't Take a Genius, conversation with introspective perspectives and pithy points of view. Here are your hosts, my friends, Max and Marty.
I think that's Mark and Mike.
Yeah, whatever.
Ramsey!
Hello, Mike Marshall. Won't this be interesting?
This will be interesting. So, in our previous episode, we talked about tribes, and our conversation leaned probably 60-40 towards tribes that you lead, tribes that you gather, and that type of thing as a manager or store owner or something like that. But we're going to take a different take on tribes today. And so I'm very excited about that.
Yeah. So a big part of the book by Seth Godin, Tribes, that really caught my attention was just this idea of it's not fair to call it a fan base. You know, it's not that. It's kind of in some ways more than that, because he's talking about people that really get what you do. People like us do things like this, I think, is sort of the gist of his marketing approach. And, that sort of implies that there's a niche of people out there that kind of buy into what you are about, what you are promoting, something that's bigger than yourself, bigger than just making money. So you and I got into this big conversation about, how would you identify that niche and pursue that niche? And you graciously said, Mark, let's put you on the dissecting table and make you a guinea pig, and we'll do a whole episode about it.
Whee! That is perfect. So one of the things we like to do is maybe even role model what it is we do. So
that's
right. Great example here. So on topic. So one of my favorite coaching questions. This one's deep, right? So Mark, what's on your mind?
I am, as you know, the founder and owner of Hip Socket LLC. And so I a lot of times have on my mind, how do I go about finding the kind of client that Hip Socket really should be serving? I obviously want to put food on the table for my family. And I, frankly, just want to do interesting work with people who get it and value it and are excited about it. So I spend a lot of time thinking about marketing, and whatever that might mean in the context, but it sort of boils down to, I need to find the people that get this. So that's on my mind.
Fantastic. So,
we should say something.
Okay.
Right from the get-go. We said it before we started recording. We should go ahead and say it now, just to give both of us a little bit of grace. We tried really hard not to prepare for this episode, right?
Yeah. Well, I think your exact quote was, you spent all day yesterday not thinking about this topic.
Yeah.
So you can be real and authentic in this moment.
And let me, you know what, just a little color commentary for our audience, all three of you. Yesterday, what I spent doing was chasing down a terrible, terrible smell in our bathroom, and finally uncovered it. It was 3 dead mice in our air conditioning system. And it was like, I have pictures, and I'm not going to show them to anybody because they are awful. Like, it was not pleasant in any sense. It was awful. So that's what I really have been spending my time doing, kind of flushed out my brain in a sense that way. And so I'm ready for this conversation about, finding the niche and identifying people that Hip Socket needs to be talking to. So,
well,
there you go.
I'm excited that you solved your odoriferous rodent problem. So yeah. That was
it was awful.
And the fact that they were in a device that blows the smell through the room.
And that turned out to be the issue. We kept thinking, the plumbing. Nope. Why do we smell it all through the house in various places? Oh, it happens to be near the vents. Great. Awesome.
Nice.
Anyway.
Yeah. All right. So marketing. All right. So the you're obviously trying to communicate a message here. You're trying to find your tribe. So one of the questions that we talked about yesterday, and we'll talk about it now, is when it comes to gathering your tribe, who are you trying to upset?
Yeah. I don't know that I'm upsetting anybody right now, except for the clients who probably wish this was faster and more practical. And they may not be, frankly, the kind of folks I need to be reaching. But let me continue on that train of thought. I am sure that if hip socket became something really popular, that there would be a number of other coaches and professionals who would be frustrated because what they're offering in many cases are, three points, do these 3 bullets and you have solved your problem, or 30 days to a completely new, customer base, or a 6-month program that's going to change the whole way you manufacture widgets. And the point of hip socket and this whole idea of wrestle and grow is that this stuff takes pausing. It takes actually slowing down and thinking through things and doing the thinking so that you can then go do the doing. And I think a lot of folks approach it the other way around. So if I guess if my techniques that I'm borrowing from the ancients caught on, those are the folks that would suffer from this.
Oh, definitely. So I'm imagining the guy, and he's just wrote the book Memes on Leadership.
Right.
And he's got his book, and then he's looking at you going, well, I hate that guy. That guy. The 13-second manager. Yeah, that guy.
That's true.
He's working on his book, and he's not gonna be happy with you.
Yeah.
And I can see you both pitching the same client, right? You're interviewing with the client, seeing if it's a good fit for you and them, and he's interviewing, he or she's interviewing with the client, seeing if it's a good fit. And he's looking at you like, ha, yeah, right. I got this guy. I just unloaded 1,700 leadership ideas in 12 seconds.
You're bringing up a really interesting point that that guy probably can solve their problem. I mean, he can scratch that itch. He can come up with a short-term solution in some ways. And I think what I'm arguing is, but what if there was more than that? What if there was, a chance for you and your people to, really maximize your potential, have some fulfillment about being a better human being? It's the ancient subjects often are grouped in a category called the humanities. This is about being human. And so helping people to see the traditions in Western civilization and in their educational system that, help you be more human. That's sort of what's being offered here. It's, we'll help you fix your process. We'll help you, manage your people better. But what if through the course of this, you're becoming better people, period? That's part of the pitch.
Oh, that's huge. Well, and it kind of answers the second question, but I'll ask it anyway, because I think we could go a little deeper. And so we've talked about who are you upsetting. The second question is, who are you connecting? As you build this tribe, what are the attributes of the people that you're trying to connect through your approach?
When you said that, the first thing that it made me think of is, this has been years ago when I was first sort of testing out some of these ideas with clients. And I had a presentation about customer experience, and I threw in some additional slides that were just basically defining some Greek words on a page, like one slide, one Greek word, a little definition, and then a second slide, and we're done. And I thought, if I get through the presentation and there's still some time, I might throw these concepts out and just see how people react to it. And this was a room full of, it wasn't automotive, but it was retail. So these were retail, mainly hourly employees, and they were mainly young, and some high school, some college. There were some frat boys and so on in the room. And I thought, this is probably a tough sell, but let's just throw it out there anyway. Got to the end and gave the 2 words. And at the end, I asked a coaching question you and I, have used before. What did you find most valuable today? Mm-hmm. And I said, and fair answer is nothing. That's okay. I need that feedback too. Well, the frat boys were the first ones to raise their hands and say, those Greek words, I don't do that. I don't do that at all. I need more of that in my life. And what I'd been talking about, and something we've talked about a little bit on the podcast, was skole and paideia, the concept of intentionally stopping to contemplate and really think through things. And then paideia, being intentional about the culture that you're trying to create, the characteristics that you're trying to groom in yourself or in others, sort of your education basically. So those were the Greek words I threw out, and they were basically saying, yeah, I need to set my phone down. I need to spend more time, really reflecting and getting intentional about what I want my life to be. So that leads me to believe, I guess that's another group I might, tick off, is anybody who's trying to interrupt you and keep you distracted all day, like, various advertisers and app makers and so on. But what I found is that people want that. They want a pause. They want an ability to have time to think and reflect and get somewhere.
Oh, that's huge. And it's interesting that they gravitated towards that. When it's not just the world of marketing and advertising that's trying to do this. Oftentimes it's our leaders themselves.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. If you're not doing something that they can, physically see, then you're loafing.
Right.
The thought of an employee just sitting there thinking, to some managers who are insecure, that's terrifying.
Right.
What is he doing? He appears to be synthesizing everything that we've talked about and coming up with an idea.
He's growing and taking next steps. This is awful.
Yeah, he needs to pick up that phone and do some prospecting. What? Yeah, I had the opportunity to do a workshop for a client, and big North American client, and we flew these people in from all around the country, 2 days, and the majority of the time we were posing questions and giving them time to reflect, within themselves, make some notes, put down their thoughts, and then to share, their insights with each other at the group.
Oh, huge.
And they absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I was going to say that was their favorite part of the whole workshop, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it's always been and we've done, you and I have done this for years, right? We do the workshop and we have the conference or whatever, and we get the surveys back, and the surveys always say the same thing. I wish we'd had more time to talk to each other.
Right. Exactly right.
Every single time the presenters was great, the learning was great, the ideas given to us were wonderful. I just wish we'd had more time to sit down and talk to our peers about what's going on and assimilate some of that information and maybe use it in my own work. And so it was so amazing because the client had to sign off on this. So we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we haven't filled every single minute of the agenda.
Yeah.
But lo and behold, it was one of the most powerful meetings we ever had.
Yeah, if we're not doing something, we're just being. And turns out that's a great thing, because thinking about who you are, that's the same verb. To be, are, is the same verb. You're thinking about your identity. Well, we've done enough research. We can go to the modern time now and talk about the research that's been done on changing your habits. It's always easier when you have an identity that you figured out. I'm a runner. That's why I get up every day and, jog for 30 minutes out in the street. It makes life easier to think that through. Well, you're not going to think it through unless you take time to think it through. That's sort of my point, is giving people time to do that.
Oh, that's amazing. All right. So we've got an idea of who we're upsetting. We got an idea of who we're connecting. So what's your next step? What is the next step? What do you want to do to help gather this tribe together?
Yeah, I tell you, Mike, that's so I'm going to do two things. One is I'm not going to have a lot of dead air, which is what we probably should do for me to slow down and think enough. You and I both know that the 80-20 rule is definitely in effect for coaching. So just as a quick little aside to our audience, If I was in silence for the next 3 minutes, that's a beautiful thing. Like, you're doing good coaching if that happens. For the sake of dead air, I'm going to not do that on our call. I'm going to kind of think out loud a little bit here. I think part of the issue, and I'm sort of pulling this out of my ear right now, but part of the issue is that people don't know that that's what they're looking for. I don't think most people know that that's what they're looking for. You know, they're going onto their search bars and saying, you know, consultant who can help me work through process improvement on my factory floor, or speaker for my leadership seminar about management techniques. And I can do those things. But not a lot of people are saying, you know, help all my employees be better human beings. Like, that's not, I don't think that's something that people are openly saying, yeah, this big picture issue that doesn't address an immediate, short-term, urgent, important need. Yeah, let me go spend some time on that. But that's sort of the point. Is I think those people are out there, and I think what I need to do is spend more time thinking through what those kinds of people are, where they're going, and what they're looking to achieve when they do go online. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, you make a good point. People aren't searching for what it is that you're offering, but you have a solution to what's bothering them. So
Yeah.
So that's what I took away from your comment. And so, yeah, nobody Googles consultant who will cause me to slow down and think through my ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's exactly what I need.
Yeah, right.
I just don't know how to search for it or even say that's what I need.
Yeah.
And so I think it reminds me of the Ritz-Carlton, commitment to service. One of the tenets of their service is that I will fulfill the unexpressed desires of the customer. Right? I will fulfill the unexpressed, wishes of the client. And so you're showing up, and even though they haven't expressed this, right, because they're not even aware of what they truly need.
Yeah.
You can help them fulfill this need. So what do you do to get to spark interest in this? What do you do to showcase the power of this concept that is literally thousands of years old?
Yeah. Well, obviously I have my blog, and I'm putting out a lot of thoughts there about how this applies, how this can be practical in our day and age. And I think you also know I'm writing a book trying to sort of encapsulate sort of what I've learned thus far. But I think your question is a little bit of a bigger one for me, because I need to figure out a way to get that in front of those people that don't know that that's what they need, and the unexpressed desire. That's a really interesting phrase that I hadn't thought of. The Ritz-Carlton approach of, can I put this in a way that they realize, I didn't even know that that's what I needed. I didn't even know that was a headache I could solve. I didn't even know that was something that I didn't have to go to bed each night worrying about at the office, because, it's just constantly been in my head and I've never thought it through. And instead it's just, keeping me up at night because I feel like that's the thing that I'm supposed to be stressing over. Well, what if you didn't, so I'm sort of getting a running list in my head of some of those situations, really. I mean, it's just situations that people find themselves in and probably don't even realize that they're in, unless it's sort of spelled out. And, I'm expressing the unexpressed desire. So I've really got to do some thinking about that. That's a great point.
No, I think you're onto it. And I think that maybe the world is warming up to your ideas when I look at the prevalence of mindfulness.
Yeah.
This is an idea that's caught on. A lot of people have this app on their phone, and they're slowing down. They're taking time to breathe and think through their ideas.
Yeah.
And since you've started, kind of explaining this to me, and I've started doing it, now I start to see it in places.
Yeah.
And I start to see it in high performing organizations. You look at the Army, right? They always have an after action debrief.
Yep.
Where they just sit down and talk about, okay, what went well, what would we do differently next
Right.
time? Let's have a nice conversation about this, and so we can continue to grow and improve. The Navy, jet fighters, right? Every time they fly a mission, the debrief takes longer than the mission.
Yeah.
Where they sit down and let's think through this whole thing.
Yeah.
And I was reading the book Traction. It's a very nuts and bolts how to run an organization, accountability, checklists, meeting agendas down to every 5 minutes. And then lo and behold, right in the middle of it is this concept called a clarity break.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't think the ancient Greeks called it a clarity break, but in the midst of all this, get stuff done literally to the second, kind of, mapping out your day, they inserted a clarity break where you just step back, pause, and start to think through, okay, what's working here? What am I doing? And see, make sure that you're clear in your mind so that you can be clear in your team members' mind where you're going, what the purpose of all this is.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you're starting to see these things bubble up. So I think you're on the right track. The question is, how do I communicate it to the masses, right? Who am I? The third question is, who am I leading?
Right.
Who am I leading? In regards to this movement.
Right. And I have, clients who, have come to me for this. I have and I may have told this story, but I had I'll just keep it very anonymous and just say that the wife of the business owner Googled something that popped up my name, and she saw the tagline was wrestle and grow, and she spun the laptop around and said, you need to stop wrestling with me and go wrestle with this guy for a while. And we literally we did some coaching for a couple of years, and actually we did a retreat at the Parthenon, which is the image behind me here in Nashville. Used that as sort of a launching point for our offsite workshop. And it was about, let's be intentional. Let's be completely intentional and think through, what it is we want to be about in our business and in our personal life. And him going through these exercises and thinking that through. I mean, he had a trial by fire the same month that he came back from that retreat where he had an employee blow up in a meeting, and he was able to just know absolutely what he was about and go take care of that employee issue, saved the relationship, saved the productivity of the team. And, wouldn't have done that unless he had slowed down to think that all through. So I have people out there that are like that. And I need to find about, 10 more of those people. Like that's, I don't need much, but I think they're out there.
Well, and like we talked about it, there's the beauty of this current day and age is we can connect these folks.
Yeah.
And so if you're a person who raises one-legged racing mice, there'll be a group for that, in a magazine, in a conference.
Right.
So yeah, the question now becomes, how do you harness all the power that's available to us through social media and blogs and all the other things to gather this group together?
I have to be honest that I don't want to do that. Mainly because I'm lazy, probably. But you everything has a community now, right? I mean, it's like every podcast, every fan group, every hobby group that I've ever seen. It's like, it's just, this quilting bee is just so important. This online quilting bee, it's just such a community. And I just picked quilting bee out of a hat. I mean, you could literally say anything. I know a guy at one of my clients that it's slot car racing. I didn't know that there was a slot car, like they're not just enthusiasts, like they go from city to city playing on each other's tracks. It's just stunning to me.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's probably correct. I probably need to start helping these people, be able to talk to each other. It just there's probably a part of me that just is really resistant to doing that for some reason, and I really need to probably think through why that is. I bet it's effort, though. I bet it's just pure laziness on my part.
It could be. It could just be, so one of the questions is, if you're saying yes to this, what are you saying no to? And so that's a fabulous question. So if you said, I'm going to say yes to creating community, what would you have to say no to?
Right.
Having that fifth child, outsourcing your odoriferous rodent problems to a trained professional, right? There's some things that bring you joy in your life that you'd have to get rid of.
It turns out touching mice corpses was not one of those things. You're 100% right about that.
Right. So yeah, if you say yes to creating a community or connecting all these people, you're gonna have to say no to something else.
Yeah. Well, so a couple things are sort of coming together here. One is the idea of the unexpressed desires, and the other is the idea of the community. And the question is, could I help them meet those unexpressed desires in community?
Mm-hmm.
That's really, I got to think about that.
Yeah. I'm picturing something that ideally would be where people would ask each other's questions, and it wouldn't be an instant response. Where the expectation would be, I'm going to pose a question, and I expect you to think about it for 2 or 3 days and come back. And
that is a great idea, because this is what I didn't want was once a month we're going to have a Zoom meeting, and I feel like the whole world is doing that, and I'm not sure that that's great if it helps you with your mindset and helps you stay mindful in the general sense, but that's not really what Hip Socket at its core, I think, is about. I think it's a bigger deal than that, and it's probably about actually thinking something through all the way so that you then can take action, instead of, I'm going to keep you in the right zone so you're constantly taking action. It's the opposite of that. So I hadn't thought about that. It doesn't have to be, completely live. It could be this asynchronous, an email thread even.
Yeah, because if it's fast and furious, then it's the antithesis of what you're espousing. So yeah, how do I create something using all this cool stuff that's available to us that holds true to the principles that you found to be so powerful?
Yeah, boy, that's a really big aha. Nice coaching.
Thank you.
Nice coaching.
All right, so let's ask that last question, and you've already talked about it. So which part of this conversation did you find to be most valuable, most useful?
Yeah, I mean, at first I would have said it's the idea of unexpressed desires and figuring out if a community could work. But frankly, that was going to be, I've got to go think about that. Now it's more, I've thought about it, and the idea of, could I form those two ideas together in an asynchronous communication method? I think that's the big aha for me. That's something that I can go do, is try to research, what that would look like and prototype it a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I feel really good about that.
Excellent. All right. So great conversation, and hopefully this has been like a huge teaser for what's coming.
Watch this space.
Watch what out of the Hip Socket think tank. Here's going to be the next coolest thing. So I'm kind of excited about that, because I know it'll be amazing, and it'll be true to the values that you're working so hard to bring to life in this modern age. So I think this is good stuff, really good stuff.
I can see the sort of just the idea that's at the tip of my tongue right now is, a small group, sort of a pilot, and give them chapters of my book at a time, to mull over, and some discussion questions at the end of that, and see what bubbles up from that. Things like that, I think, could happen. Or, they could be asking questions, solicit from them, what are the things you're really wrestling with, and then tackle that as a group, maybe with me providing some guiding, thoughts or literature to go along with it. It's a really neat idea.
Yeah. The question might be, what passage of this chapter was most powerful to you and why?
Yeah.
And allow them to start thinking through that.
Yeah. I like that a lot.
Very cool.
I like that a lot.
Well, this has been really fun and really exciting. And I know that our announcer has been waiting in the wings, to share his joy and enthusiasm for what we do.
To pump us up, really.
Yes, because that's what he does. All right, let's take a listen.
And that's it. Join us next time when you'll hear Mike say, well, I'm sure he'll say something pithy. Don't miss it. Next time, it doesn't take a genius.
That's good enough.